On your Tuesday episode of Locked On Raptors, the only thing worse than staying up till 3 a.m. to watch your baseball team lose a World Series game is watching the Toronto Raptors try to play defense right now.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Tuesday, October the 28th, and I am your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, which is definitely not overreacting right now. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. We'd love to see you there. Great little listener community we got building around the show. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And we're off and running here talking about a Toronto Raptors 121-103 loss to the San Antonio Spurs to fall to 1-3 as Daddy Wembanyama does the thing. The Spurs move to 4-0. They're horrifying. Wemby's ridiculous. Wait till they get De'Aaron Fox back. Oh my God. Wemby is too much. The Raptors did not have many answers for Wemby and co. last night. That will be the crux of the start of today's show. We're going to talk about the defense, which continues to be very, very bad. We will also talk about Collin Murray-Boyles, who was very, very good in his second NBA game. Little beacon of hope there for sure. We got the good, the bad, and the coming up later on as well. But let's get to it. A 3-game skid early in the season feels like crap. You get excited. The new season is here. You beat the Hawks handily on opening night, and you think, hey, things are going to be great. Smooth sailing. They play a really good first three quarters against the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday. You're thinking, hey, this team can hang. And I'm not sitting here saying that this team cannot hang. I think they will be better than the 1-3, 25% win clip they're currently playing at. A 3-game losing streak at this time of year feels significantly worse than a 3-game losing streak in, say, February or March, even though they're essentially the exact same thing within the grand scheme of 82 games. And in fact, it's more recoverable right now than it would be later on. But you can't get around the fact that the Toronto Raptors right now simply cannot play defense to save their lives. And that's a problem. The Bucks game, there was some good defense first half. I thought was pretty strong. Fourth quarter fell apart, totally unspooled, and it has stayed very much unspooled since then. Halloween is coming up on Friday. It just looks like a whole bunch of totally unleashed toilet paper rolls right now. It's not great. It's been tough to see. And last night, we saw it again. The Raptors defense just really, really porous once again. They give up to the San Antonio Spurs last night, 123.2 offensive rating per clean the glass. They let the Spurs pull off a 69% effective field goal percentage, which ranks 99th percentile among all team games played so far this season in the NBA. You're not going to get a whole lot worse than what we've seen from the Raptors in the last couple games defensively. And again, they've dialed it up a little bit too much. We all love the high pressure thing. Last year, it was really fun. It led to some good returns as the season progressed. And I do think this team playing this defense over the course of the full season will get better at playing this defense if they stick with it. But there's got to be a little bit of adjustment, I think, to just be more selective about the aggression. Right now, it feels a lot like aggression without intention. It is aggression for aggression's sake. It is getting up into people's shirts and trying to poke steals just because that's what we're supposed to do when each possession calls for something different. Each opponent calls for something different. Each matchup, it just doesn't always require you to go full tilt, balls to the wall to try to force turnovers and get the steal machine moving. And I do think it's actually hurting the Raptors in transition by being this aggressive because it's giving up so much at the back end. They're pulling the ball out of their own bucket so often, and it's repressing their transition game. The last 2 games, the Raptors have not gotten on the run very often at all. It was about 15% of their possessions in the game against the Mavericks where they got in transition. Last night, per clean the glass, 13.8% of their possessions in transition. They had been humming along at about 25 through the regular season, through the preseason and the first couple games of the regular season. That's just not good enough for a team that, while their half-court offense has actually looked fine, they're like middle of the pack, 15th, I think, in half-court offense so far this year. this team is going to need to rely on transition to juice those numbers, and they're damn good at it too, right? Like, this isn't just transition for transition's sake. They are a good transition team, and the way they've played in transition has been really encouraging so far. And the way they're playing defense right now, it's actually counterintuitive, counterproductive to getting them out on the run, because, yeah, if you get, 6 or 7 steals, I think they had 9 steals last night, great. You get out and run off of those, awesome. But for a couple extra steals that you're forcing as opposed to what you'd normally get during the regular run of play, I don't think it's worth the number of times they are having to reset their offense after a make by the Spurs or whatever team they're playing and having to bring it back up in the half court. Last night they gave up 114.3 offensive rating in the half court to the Spurs. Really, really bad. And when you're giving up that much in the half court, you're just not getting those transition opportunities that they've been so devastating with. You got to force misses, and they're not really doing that right now. Just some numbers on what the Raptors have done through 4 games. And all this is small sample. All this will normalize, one would assume. But so far, they're giving up the 5th most shots at the rim of any team in the league. Totally checks out. Unsurprising considering how much they're compromising themselves at the point of attack. They're giving up 71% on those shots. 9th worst in the league in terms of at-rim percentage allowed through 4 games. They're giving up the 4th most corner threes. That's also a symptom of an over-helping, over-aggressive defense where you're constantly in rotation. And look, they're doing a good job of suppressing above the break threes. That's been nice. They the 2nd fewest above the break threes allowed in the league. That's great, but teams are shooting better than 40% on them. That's the 3rd highest in the league. That's probably going to normalize. You could probably classify that mostly as bad luck, but the process of the defense right now is not working. They are sending needless extra help. They have guys stunting on drives where they're not offering any resistance on those stunts. There were a few times last night where whether it's Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickley or RJ Barrett, they're on the wing, the driver is coming towards them, and they're just kind of like putting their arms up and not really doing anything to cause resistance. It's like pickup defense. That's like how I play defense at pickup. I can spot it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not trying to get hurt playing pickup, so I do that to make it look like I'm doing something. And that's not going to work in the NBA, especially against Victor Wembanyama's team. It's been tough, right? Like, they're sending doubles from weird spots. There was one last night where RJ Barrett was camped out on the baseline guarding, I can't remember who it was, but they send him to go double up at the top of the arc. And it's just like an easy pass to the guy on the baseline, and then Jakob Poeltl's late to rotate over, and it's just a very easy basket close to the rim, caused entirely by undisciplined help decisions. It's just like, and look, I don't know where the line is between players failing to execute what they're actually trying to do versus what the coaches are trying to do. I think we probably put too much stuff on coaches for stuff that players do poorly on the floor. I think coaches have less of an impact than we like to say they do, because it's the easy thing to point at and say, hey, coach bad, get rid of them or whatever. But there's clearly something not getting through with the style of defense they're playing. The defense doesn't seem terribly suited to some of the personnel they have. Yet last night you had Jakob Poeltl picking up Wemby full court in some situations. Why? Like, I get it. Wemby's going to pull from 3. He can knock a 30-footer down, but having Jakob Poeltl pick him up in the backcourt seems a little unnecessary. And the way they guarded Wemby, I thought, was interesting in this one too, and not in a good way. Like, they had, going back to the sort of undisciplined help and the sort of aggression without intention, I think we saw in this game, Poeltl individually actually did a pretty good job guarding Wemby straight up. If you look at the numbers, the matchup data backs it up per NBA.com. The Spurs scored well under a point per possession when Poeltl was guarding Wemby. And Wemby didn't really get going in this game until late in the game when, I think Poeltl was kind of sitting a little bit, and it just, he got hot because that's what great players do late in games. But through the first chunk of this game, he wasn't doing a whole lot individually. And I thought Poeltl did a pretty good job offering resistance. But they had Scotty Barnes kind of seemingly always ready to be that help to Wemby, like to sort of ward off Wemby when he was driving at Poeltl, unnecessarily so, because Poeltl didn't really need the help in some of these situations. And you had so many instances of Scotty stunting over, totally leaving his guy, not rotating back to his guy, and all of a sudden it's a quick, 3 on the wing, or it's a quick pass and a drive. And that's Scotty in this one. This was easily his worst defensive game of the season so far. It wasn't a great offensive game for him either. He only had 8 points, didn't really factor into the offense very much. Only took 7 shots. That's not enough shots for Scotty Barnes. I'm not terribly worried about that. Sometimes Victor Wembanyama and his whole deal and the sort of all-encompassing presence he is going to do that to great offensive players. And Scotty I wouldn't classify as a great offensive player. He's a good offensive player. He and Brandon Ingram both had a rough go in this one. We'll talk about them a little bit later on. But defensively, yeah, it just like there were so many instances of just that over-aggression burning them. Like, they're getting killed on the types of possessions where over-aggression kills you, right? going through synergy data on play types so far this year. And again, it's 4 games, all small samples. But right now, the play types the Raptors are grading out defensively as either below average or poor at, which is like bottom 40th percentile. Poor, I think, is bottom 20th. Either way, the possession, the types of plays they're getting cooked on the most: cuts, spot ups, off screen, ISOs, post ups, and handoffs. All classified as below average or poor per synergy so far this year. And a lot of those are the exact types of plays where overzealous is going to get you burned on the back end. You get back cut when you're playing way too heavily to deny, or you're trying to jump up and offer help, and then your guy just kind of walks in behind you, and maybe the help wasn't terribly necessary, and you just kind of lost track of your dude. When it's spot ups, like you give up spot ups when you are in constant rotation because you're over helping and you're not able to recover back in time, and people are burning you on those catch and shoot threes, or they're driving on a closeout and continuing an advantage. ISO, right? Like you're going to get burned on ISOs if you're just way too up in guys' shirts and they're able to turn the corner on you too easily. Emmanuel Quickley's not been good enough at the point of attack. Brandon Ingram's not been good enough at the point of attack. Maybe they got to rein in the aggression there a little bit. I don't know. Like it's tough. Again, some of this it'll probably normalize and you're having bad luck and you've played some solid teams. You've played 2 of the 5 best players in the world so far this season, and Giannis and Victor Wembanyama. They're going to do that to you sometimes, but the process of the defense doesn't feel great right now. Doesn't mean that it can't be fixed. Doesn't mean that they can't go watch the tape and adjust. Doesn't mean that they're totally out of ideas, because there are certainly ideas that you can go and implement just by sort of deploying guys a little more in line with their strengths. But right now, it does feel like it's just they need to kind of just dial it down just a little bit for certain guys. And maybe you'll have a bit more structure to your defense. Maybe you don't need to help so aggressively. Maybe you bring your help in a little bit later, closer to the rim, where your guys like Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl are hanging out more often. Maybe you got to play with where you use Jakob Poeltl, right? Poeltl was guarding Wemby for a lot of last night. Maybe you stick him on Stephon Castle, who's not a great shooter. Get creative with how you use your center defensively, like a lot of teams do around the league. And you can kind of camp him out. Maybe you help, you don't worry about contesting those threes from Castle, and you forgive the open looks by having Poeltl hang out near the rim and be where he's best, right? It's tough. I thought Scotty could have probably spent more time at Wemby last night. I think Scotty's a very good defender sort of profile for Wemby, if such a thing exists. It's just, like they are very often positionally compromised. And again, sometimes you'll create this sort of extra steal here and there by doing this. But at the end of the day, the sort of math game of just giving up incredible amounts of buckets on your own net, it's a net negative for their transition attack, which is really what this team wants to butter its bread with. So something's got to change. Something's got to be adjusted. There's plenty of time. This is why you play 82 games. There's a lot of time to adjust these things and evolve, and for guys to get accustomed to how they're being asked to play. Still early days here, but it's not been great on the defensive end so far. Just to go back to some of the numbers right now, they are 29th in half-court defensive rating right now. That's not good enough, man. It's just not good enough for a team that is not going to be terrible on offense, but certainly can't be just totally putting itself behind the 8 ball with terrible defense every single night. We'll come back on the other side, talk about a good thing from this game. Collin Murray-Boyles. The stock pot is officially boiling. And boy, oh boy, am I excited for that stew. We're going to come back in just one sec, talk about Collin Murray-Boyles, who was very impressive in his second NBA game. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a larger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. And it's not just the NBA, of course. You have all the sports under the sun on FanDuel to go play around with. You maybe want to take the over on total bases for Shohei Ohtani, because that guy is unfreaking believable. 9 times on base last night. Sure, totally normal. Yes, the Jays put him on 4 times intentionally, but there's a reason for that. It's because he's a superhuman freak. Either way, right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when you place your first $5 bet, and it wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Basketball season is rolling along. The NBA is back, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated. When all you want to do is cheer your damn team on. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives you an advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. The Toronto Raptors playing a game Wednesday night in Toronto against the Houston Rockets. Kevin Durant rolling through town. You never know how many times that's going to happen for the rest of time. Yeah, he'll be around for a few more years with Houston, but every chance to see KD is appointment viewing. And hey, if you go buy tickets for the game tomorrow, you get to hang out after the game and watch the Blue Jays in Game 5 of the World Series. Ain't that a lot of fun? You can go and check out all of the tickets available for all of the sporting events, concerts, theater shows near you at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Back at it here on your Tuesday edition of Locked On Raptors, breaking down a nasty, no good loss to the San Antonio Spurs. Raptors fall to 1-3. And look, it's too early to say things are getting out of hand, but they do play the Rockets on Wednesday, who've been meh. I think that's a team the Raptors could actually beat. And then they play the Cavs on Friday, who were very good. You don't want to fall to 1-5, even if it's not representative of the true talent of the team or where they'll ultimately end up. You don't want to fall to 1-5. It's not good. It looks stinky and makes you feel bad and makes everyone very angsty in the fan base. So, just win tomorrow, and I feel like things would be a lot better. Hell, if they just won that game against the Bucks on Friday, which was there for them to win, we're not feeling so bad right now after a couple losses in Texas on a back-to-back. Let's get to Collin Murray-Boyles. That was a lot of fun, huh? He comes in, he plays a very sturdy 24 minutes last night, 7 of 13 from the field, 3 of 5 from downtown. Incredible stuff from Collin Murray-Boyles, 19 points, 3 boards and assists, 3 steals and a block. The stock pot, 4 stocks, baby. We love the stock pot in these parts. Woo, 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 woo. Really good. I think for me, he just looks so at home on an NBA court, right? He is so physically up to it. He had a couple possessions last night bumping with Wemby, same as he had a couple possessions bumping with Cooper Flagg the night before. He does not look out of place physically. I mean, think of the difference between him and like Jakob Poeltl as a rookie last year. God, Gradey Dick is a rookie 2 years ago. Just a way more advanced physical profile for Collin Murray-Boyles, and it shows. And I mean, we'll talk about the center issues. Jakob Poeltl continues to play not very well. Again, I thought he had some moments last night guarding Wemby one-on-one, but continues to really struggle. Just cannot find the touch on that push shot whatsoever. Don't know if he's still not feeling healthy or whatever, if the back's bothering him, if the mask is what's bugging him, who knows? But 1 of 6 from the field last night for a guy who shot like 63% from the field last year. The Raptors got issues with center right now until Jakob Poeltl sorts out whatever's going on with Jakob Poeltl. And a guy who might be able to genuinely help with that is rookie Collin Murray-Boyles, who stands 6'7". And yet I feel comfortable with him playing as a small ball 5 already. As a role man, I mean, he's just so comfortable, right? He's a damn good screener. He rolls at the right times. He's got good touch. He's got the floater. He's got the rim, finishing acumen. That was always a strength of his when he was in college. A bit sloppy with his passing in this game. He had a few turnovers, but you can see that he sees the passes. And I think as a short roll guy, he's going to be a genuine weapon. And I think as a creative guy, if he wants to put the ball on the deck from the wing as more of a slashing wing type, he's going to be able to make plays out of that too. He's going to draw help at the rim as time goes on, because I think he's going to be a damn good rim finisher. We saw a little bit of that last night. And if the threes are going to fall, I mean, my God, that gets real interesting real fast. I don't think he's going to go 3 of 5 from 3 every night. In fact, I guarantee you he's not going to shoot 60% from 3. But the fact that he's taking them confidently and eagerly, that is sort of the first step in the battle in shooting development. You got to think it's going in order for it to actually start going in. And I have no problem with him taking those threes as they come to him in the flow. And if they do start to go down, we are looking at a very different level of prospect here and a very different level of impact on the team this season. Like, I think he can make an impact already. Like I said, I think between him and Mamu, they're not your traditional centers, but they do have a little bit more in terms of insurance for poor performance from Jakob Poeltl if he needs to sit some time out to get right. They have a little bit more insulation there where they can play those two guys and Scotty Barnes and sort of get by okay at the 5. They at least have big man skills at the 5 that, you kind of need. This was always the thing when they didn't really have a center before Poeltl came along, is they just had no one with like true center skills, screening, roll of gravity, that type of stuff, interior finishing. They have those things in Collin Murray-Boyles for sure, and Mamu obviously offers a different flavor of stretch big, but that combination's fun. Again, not huge, but fun and passable for chunks of the regular season if you need to fill in for a struggling Jakob Poeltl. Ultimately, Poeltl's really got to sort of whatever the hell's going on with him, and we'll talk more about him later on with the starters being pretty rough. But yeah, I think it's just, Collin Murray-Boyles, man. Really, really exciting stuff to see. I think the defensive impact from him, you saw it last night, like it's going to be real. He's going to lock dudes down. He's going to have individual possessions of brilliance, locking dudes up in space. We'll see about the rim protection stuff. He's not a huge guy. There's going to be matchups where he's just overmatched. I mean, Wemby is one of those. He's enormous. Wemby's an overmatch for everybody. But to see Collin Murray-Boyles come out and do that in just his second game after kind of struggling in his first one, I don't know how you can't be overjoyed and thrilled about the prospect of him being a regular rotation piece for this team over the course of the year. It's a lot of fun, man. I'm really, really into it. And yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him play with Scotty Barnes. I'd like to see him play with Scotty and Mamu and like Brandon Ingram as like a 2 through 5. Get some size, get some shooting. Maybe quickly as your point guard in that situation. Maybe you roll Barrett. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of fun, different lineup iterations you can pull out with Collin Murray-Boyles, especially if he's going to take those threes comfortably as well. But yeah, the Scotty, Murray-Boyles, Mamu trio, I think there's something there. I'd like to see a little bit of that. I think we saw like a tiny stretch of it last night. I won't lie to you guys. I watched the Blue Jays game last night until 3 a.m. I did not spend too much time going over this game with a fine-tooth comb. I watched the game. I watched back some tape on Synergy, but I did not go out and plot out the lineup rotation patterns or anything like that for this one because I had baseball ruining my heart and soul instead. But yeah, Collin Murray-Boyles, clearly the positive bright spot from this basketball game that I think deserved its own segment because, again, he has the profile of a guy who is going to be an impact player right away, specifically on defense. But if he can do that short roll stuff, the roll man stuff as a big man, had some nice early chemistry with Jamal Shed, which was great to see. There's a lot to like here with our dude, Collin Murray-Boyles, the stock pot. Can't wait to see him play some more. And again, if Poeltl's going to struggle like this, play Murray-Boyles all the minutes in the world. I do not care. See what you got in him. See what kind of lineup iterations you can find success with. They've been, as our pal Samson Folk tweeted out last night, they are searching right now for lineups that work, that make sense, that can give them anything, that can win some minutes. Maybe Murray-Boyles is an answer for that, just with his many, many skills and talents as a defensive player and finisher. We'll come back on the other side, close things out with a look at the good, the bad, and the from the game against the San Antonio Spurs. We'll spend most of our time on the bad. We'll do that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by a new sponsor, Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Maybe the Toronto Raptors defense could use Rippling to help them have some more connectivity on that end. You've got everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access, runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source of truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, or finance operations as one, or just fill the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonNBA. That's more. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonNBA. That's rippling.com/lockedonNBA for 6 months free. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth between 401k, savings, and investments. It's easy to lose track, and that's where money can be left on the table. That's why you got to start using Monarch. It's the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or your phone. It is like your personal secretary. It puts all your accounts in one place. You don't have to remember a million card numbers and passwords and two-factor authentication and questions about your youth that you have as your security answers, whatever it might be. It's easier with Monarch because all of your accounts are in one place. You can put your accounts that you share with your spouse or your partner or whomever, so you can see where your money's going, where you're spending money, maybe you shouldn't spend money, where you can save. It's all there for you. It is the admin, and like it's the solve for all of your admin problems. And you know me, I hate admin. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Wrapping things up here on your Tuesday edition of Locked On Raptors with the good, the bad, and the a thing I liked, thing I didn't like, thing that's got me a little bit intrigued from the latest Toronto Raptors basketball game. The way we wrap up every single episode of this here podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. Let's start with the good, shall we? RJ Barrett, let's give him some flowers, shall we? He has looked really, really great. And the fit between him, Scotty Barnes, and Brandon Ingram, last night wasn't so good for Barnes or Ingram, of course, but those three guys together, it's working. Those three guys seem to know how to play off of one another. It's the bookends. Quickly, I thought was a little better last night. Poeltl obviously is going through some stuff right now. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, it's just like it's not a cohesive group entirely, which we'll talk about in a second. But those three guys with Barrett, I think just seamlessly fitting in as this streamlined play finisher. Really good. He seems to know exactly where he wants to get his looks off. His shot chart, pristine. Rim shots and paint shots and threes. That's all. There's not any sort of fluff. It's all just stuff that he, in theory, can be pretty good at. And look, he's not going to shoot the way he has from the rim so far this year, all year long, what would you think? But so far through 4 games, shooting 76% at the rim, 71% from short mid-range. That stuff's not going to stick at that level. That's very, very unsustainable. But if he can settle in high 60s at the rim, that's not unrealistic. He's done it relatively recently for a half a season at 72%. That didn't seem sustainable either, but can you get to that mid 60s, high 60s from the rim? That's a big deal for RJ Barrett. The thing that I do think is sustainable, 72% of his shots are coming from either the rim or short mid-range. It is just clustered in the paint. He's getting that sort of little turnaround push shot falling. That's been a beautiful little go-to for him when he can't get all the way to the rim. A nice counter to kind of, leave the defense on their heels. It's not just straight, I am hammer, ball is nail, it's going to the rim. There's an actual thing he's doing to kind of mix it up a little bit with that stop, turnaround, push shot. That's working great. And he's letting threes go as they come to him. Just 2 of 7 last night, but he took 7 of them. No problems there. He's not going to be this efficient at the rim all season long, but it's really encouraging that he's been able to do this and fit so well with the new sort of construct of the team. The bad, look, the starters are just not working right now, man. Not working to like a pretty alarming degree, also to a pretty unsustainable degree, I would argue. Minus 18.7 per 100 possessions so far for the Raptors starters early on, in like 116 possessions. Not a ton, but by far the most on the team. The only qualified lineup the Raptors have per clean the glass. The only one that has the little orange and blue squares to indicate, yes, this lineup has played enough for it to be a real enough sample. Minus 18.7. Very, very bad. 0th percentile among on offense among qualified lineups at 107.7 offensive rating. The worst qualified lineup on offense. But it gets worse. 0th percentile on defense as well. 126.5 defensive rating. They are doing everything as bad as you possibly can be doing on both ends of the floor right now. They are doing nothing well. I don't know what you do to change it, though, because I don't think you're going to change the starting lineup right now. They played 4 games. They clearly need more time together, obviously. There are good players in this lineup. They're not going to be a minus 18.7 per 100. That is like sub the worst team in the history of basketball level. I don't care how much you dislike the players on this team or dislike the way it was built or think Masai Ujiri or Bobby Webster are fools. They did not assemble the worst lineup in the history of basketball. It's not going to stay this bad. They will figure it out to some extent. As I talked about, I don't think they're going to be some sort of steamroller lineup. Before the season, we had the over-under set for plus 3.0 net rating for the lineup. I took the under on that. I think they will just kind of get by with modest winning of minutes. They have not done that. They have lost in hilarious fashion so far this year. I don't think you're changing the starting lineup right now, though. It's too early for that. You need to figure things out. You need to give them some time to breathe. You need Jakob Poeltl to figure it out, really. Like, that's the thing. He's been miserable on offense. He can't get anything to fall. The push shot's not there. Do I think he went from literally setting the franchise record for field goal percentage last year to guy who shoots 20% from the field? No, I don't. I think he's better than that. I think he's going to figure out the touch. I think clearly being out for the preseason, whatever was going on with his back, wearing the mask, has all played into him feeling out of sorts. I think that will sort itself out. But I do think if you are going to change anything for now, if there were to be just like, all right, a panic move to change what the starting lineup is. I mean, they started Mamu for like 30 seconds at the start of the second half against the Mavericks and then quickly changed out of that. Maybe that was a from that game to keep an eye on. Maybe they'll start Mamu at some point. He has been quite good with Scotty Barnes in those minutes that he's played with the starters in place of Jakob Poeltl. The Raptors have a plus 56.3 net rating in 20 minutes played. They barely played, but it's something. I'm actually maybe 20 possessions played, so even less than that. So yeah, that's the move probably because Mamu gives that offensive space and juice. It's really been helpful for Scotty Barnes. Those two guys have been great together. Maybe you get crazy and try Collin Murray-Boyles in place of Poeltl. Maybe Poeltl just needs some time to sit down and get right. I don't know, but I don't think there's really another change you're going to make to the starting five. And I know people are really out to get Emmanuel quickly right now. And look, he's not been great. Last night I thought, again, it was better. It was more efficient. You know, it was a little less in terms of volume that you'd like to see, especially from three for him, but he had a couple fall down. The threes will fall for him, and he's too good of a shooter, too dynamic a shooter to not have with the starting five. Otherwise, the spacing just gets totally clogged. There's no one that can replicate that. And, you know, have your misgivings about his ball handling all you want. He's one of the better ball handlers on the team, and handing the point guard keys over to RJ Barrett or, you know, Brandon Ingram full-time or Scotty Barnes full-time. We've seen how that works. Like, that's not going to work either. And so I think Quickly's got to be in the starting five, and I think he will figure it out as well. It really just comes down to waiting it out for Poeltl, frankly. It's just been that rough. The offense has been getting by in the half court, you know, until last night, pretty all right. It's just like, yeah, like there's no sexy fix to the move right now. The unsexy answer is like, you just got to wait it out a little bit till Poeltl gets right and they just get more time to play together. But so far, the starters have been really, really bad. And if they stay this bad, it's going to be a pretty significant problem for the team going forward. And it creates all kinds of problems with Poeltl's contract. And I mean, they just extended him. He hasn't even started the extension part of the deal just yet. They are pretty locked into Poeltl. You know, maybe there's a way to flip him for somebody. You add some assets and you kind of change your center dynamic that way. That's a problem for later and sort of a discussion for later in the season for sure. But for now, they're just kind of a holding pattern until Poeltl gets it right. And maybe they patch together some Mamu and Collin Murray-Boyles at the five lineups to make it work with the starters as we go forward here. They've clearly had a pretty short leash for Poeltl, right? Like, they're not like rolling him out there for 30 minutes a night. He's not been good. And so they've been pulling him out. I think credit to Darko for that, trying to find stuff that works. But ultimately, if they're going to be successful, the successful version of the Raptors has Jakob Poeltl playing well in it. You just got to hope he gets it together. It's been 4 games. He probably will get it together. He's not this bad. But yeah, it's a big reason why the starters have been literally the worst at both ends of the floor among all qualified lineups so far this season. Not great, Bob. Gradey Dick playing just 8 minutes last night. I mean, I know he wasn't doing much. He didn't really provide a whole lot. Didn't shoot anything. He didn't hit any shots. He was 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3. I don't know. Like, he seems like the offense was struggling bad last night as much as the defense was. I would have liked to see a little more Gradey Dick in there. I mean, Jakob Poeltl did play 10 minutes. Maybe there's your as well. Like, those two guys, maybe they're in a full-on battle right now. Maybe Ochai Abaji's very much also in that battle. I think Abaji's had some good defensive stuff this year. His offense hasn't come along. Maybe Jakob Poeltl getting in the mix last night, finally playing, finally getting some run. Maybe we see him kind of ascend in the rotation here, and you end up with that sort of bench crew of Murray-Boyles, Mamu. I still think Dick has to play, and Walter and Shed. Maybe Abaji becomes on the outs and becomes that guy who's most likely to get dropped as a tax casualty or whatever. But yeah, the two guard thing is going to be pretty interesting all season long to see how that sorts itself out. And last night, just an interesting 8 minutes for Gradey Dick, clearly in the doghouse a little bit for defensive stuff, as the whole team probably should have been, because the defense, not good at all right now, as we covered at length off the top of the show. We're going to leave it there, though. Thank you so much for rocking with the show. And we'll be back again tomorrow as Vivek Jacob will be along. We're going to play the Concerno-meter. We'll talk about some things going on with the Raptors that are concerning and get into just how much they concern us. You have that to look forward to. A fun, classic Locked On Raptors stupid little game with Big V. Can't wait for that. In the meantime, follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, join the Discord, link in the description of the podcast. Go check out our pals Braden and Carter with Locked On Blue Jays. I think they'll probably be tired today and also sad. I'm sad too. The Raptors did not do much to make me less sad. Baseball, it'll break you. But either way, Locked On Jays covering the Blue Jays run through the World Series. Big one tonight. At the very least, we'll get to see Shohei Ohtani do incredible, ridiculous things again. That's fun as just like a sports fan. To have it happen to the team you like is less fun. But, seeing Wemby and Shohei Ohtani in the same night as a Toronto sports fan, pretty rough stuff. Welcome to the next 5 to 10 years of all of our lives. Either way, thank you so much for supporting the show. Follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Always appreciate it when you support the show. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.